What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Justin Strickland, the host of the Ladder Podcast. Shout out to Crew Excellent. I'm so happy to be with you today, man. Shout out to my boy Nate on the ones and twos. You know what I'm saying? We back in the building. And I'm super excited to bring to you a much needed episode, man. I realized I don't know if I've ever described to y'all kind of my philosophy behind the Hope Institute. It's actually the reason my website is www.thinkchangeform.com. It's for a reason. Like, I ain't just throw some verbs together. Like, I have a philosophy behind the website and for the company. And I want to share that with you today. The idea is that leaders think, people change, and systems form. That's where we get think, change, form from. And I want to break that down because I really believe that Crew Excellence, you guys have the ability to really change the world. And it's through this kind of perspective that happens, right? So before we get into that, though, I want to make sure you're in the right place. So let's do some housekeeping. The Ladder Podcast exists to develop you as a leader. No matter where you are, it's to take you to where you want to go. We believe that everybody, yes, you, has the capacity for leadership. And no matter what place, position, title you find yourself with, you have some responsibility to lead well. And so our job is every week, throughout the week, to pour into that so that you are a better leader tomorrow than you are today. All right. So if that's you, which it is, you're in the right place. Okay. Now let's jump into the episode. Oh, and don't forget, you here, go ahead and like the video. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and share it with your homeboy or your homegirl. You know what I'm saying? We don't discriminate. All right. It just helps us, man. It's free. It don't cost you nothing except for some love. And do you got some? Show me love. All right. We're going to jump into the episode. All right. Now, first thing is leaders think. And so I'm talking about you. Okay. Leaders think. It's the first step. Leaders utilize thought to shape their futures. And what I mean by that, I'm not talking about manifestation or any of that stuff. What I'm talking about is most things that exist, companies, inventions, family dynamics, they start with someone deciding in their mind that they want something different, that they believe something can be different. And they have this, we all have this opportunity to create. I believe that because we're made in the image of God, Imago Dei, God is creative. We all have an opportunity to create. And that starts with our ability to see, okay? To see. And so I said your ability to see the world from a different perspective is your superpower. So that no matter if that's your family, if that's at work, if that's on the way to work, you see something and you're like, this doesn't have to be like this. This could be different. This could be better. That is your superpower because everybody looks at that and thinks that's all it is or all it should be. For example, I'm recording this video. There used to be a time where you could not record videos. You could only take pictures. But someone looked at cameras and was like, I think they can do more. And here we have video. And so those things, these changes that we are experiencing and benefiting from start with somebody seeing something and saying that could be different. And the last part of that is write it down. And so it's not enough to just have the thought. It's not enough to just see the world differently. You must write it down. And what I mean by write it down is you have to share it somehow. It can't just be in your head. And I'm talking to myself, right? It can't just be in your head. Like, it has to be written down. It has to be some level of commitment. When you write something down, there's some level of commitment to the thing you've written down. Okay. And so write it in a spot where you look at it, where you share it, where you talk about it, because you don't want your ideal to die. There's been so often in my personal life where I've had an ideal that I didn't write down, that I just thought of, and I didn't act on it. And then I saw someone else benefiting from that ideal, whether it be they started a company or they started a podcast or some content. And I'm like, dang, I had that ideal 3 years ago, but I didn't act on it. I didn't tell anybody about it. And now someone else is seeing some success from that ideal. And I'm not hating. I'm not saying they didn't steal the ideal from me. I just think that we all can see things and have different ideals. And so when you get one, act on it. Start to create what you think could be better for the future. Okay. Number two is change. And when I say change, I'm talking about other people. So, because when you leaders think they're already forming, they're already changing. But now this part is about getting other people involved. And in general, people are afraid of change because they're comfortable. And when most people hear that, they're thinking about the people that are successful. But that extends to people who aren't successful as well. Even people who aren't benefiting from the status quo are still afraid of change because they have even less to lose. Does that make sense? Like, if I only have $2, I'm even more worried about you changing the system that gives me $2 because I don't want to end up with one. And so your job as a leader is to convince those that are necessary for change that it's worth it, that is valuable, that as dangerous as different is, there's a value on the other side that benefits everybody. Okay. And you have to be creative to do this. Like this level of influence is not easy. Being able to convince people to change is not an easy thing to do. And shout out to all my homegirls who have been trying to change these no good Negroes, right? Y'all get it? It ain't easy, right? And I would just tell y'all to give up, okay? Find somebody else. But that ain't what this podcast is about. It's not easy to change people. So you got to be creative. You got to be convinced that what you're offering is actually valuable. And you have to develop it in a way that is understandable and digestible. It does you no good to be a rocket scientist if I don't understand basic addition, right? So you have to be able to take your rocket science and give it to me in a way that I can think is valuable. And that's what change is all about. And so change starts with the mind. You have to convince people that there's a new way to think about what's possible. Yes, this is where you've always lived. Yes, this is how you've always made money. Yes, this is how your family's always been. But here's another option. And yes, it's scary, and there are going to be some things that come with that aren't all good. But in the net is a net positive. And you just have to convince people to think that way. And then you got to multiply the process. Addition is cool. But if we wanted to make world change, we have to multiply. I have to get multiple people to buy in and to share the message. Okay, we're talking about how to change the world. That's what the Hope Institute is about. One by one, changing the world. And this is what multiplication is in the Hope Institute. When I go, into an organization and I teach leadership, I might be teaching it to 10 people who work in 5 departments. And so me teaching it to the 10 people is addition. Them go teaching it to the people in their departments is multiplication. Okay. And that's where we see organizational change, which can lead to world change. And so the last one is form, systems form. A lot of times we underestimate the power of systems. Systems are created with intention, so they're not easily altered or torn down. The system that we live in America was not an accident. The way capitalism works, the way racism works, the way the poor are treated, the way the wealthy receive tax, like all of these things are intentional. There was a group of people who created a system that benefited them. Okay? And so tearing that down, altering that is not easy because it wasn't on accident that it works this way. And so we have to move with intention if we're going to change systems. One of the things is when you're changing systems, one of the ways to do it is inside out, right? Getting in the system, altering it, tearing down things that aren't working. That's one of the ways. Another way is just creating new systems. And so creating new systems is an option. I know some of my voice leaders, y'all are radicals and y'all want to tear it down, burn it down. All right. Y'all are on that. And y'all go live that out. Live out your truth. All right. But that's not the only way to get something done. You could create a new system that benefits people. One of the examples of this is like community banking. There is a system of banking, and it benefits the rich. It makes it really hard for the poor and the middle class, and those things exist. Community banking says we're going to create a bank within our community that benefits us. So it's a new system. I didn't tear down or alter the old one. I just created a new one that benefits us. And so that's an option. And I want you to understand you can't skip this step. Even if you Add the thought, even if you got people to buy in, if it doesn't become systemic, you cannot have prolonged positive change. You'll have a moment in the sun, right? You'll be a one-hit wonder, but you won't have the longevity that is world changing. Things don't change overnight. They just don't. Big time systems require big time change, require a long time. Okay? The slowness of change can be frustrating, but it is necessary. And the only way you can maintain movement is through systems. Because people are going to be interchangeable. People are going to lose steam. They're going to move on to glory. They're going to change places or locations. And connecting your change to people is dangerous. But connecting your change to systems is lucrative. And so after you get people to change, you have to form systems that are built on the back of your perspective that allow for longevity when building change. I'm talking about changing the world today, right? And the thing about changing the world is it's not just about ending hunger or ending racism or attacking the ills of capitalism or changing it's not about these big ideals, even though those things matter. But a lot of times we just need to form systems within our families. We're like, we don't talk to each other that way. We don't steward money that way. We're not frivolous with marriage in that way. We take care of our kids this way. Those are systems that can form within a family unit that can be life-changing. And so that's why we talk about like leadership, no matter where you are, no matter what position you have, thinking, changing, and forming is something that you can do right now that can impact you and the people around you. Because changing the world is an individual thing. I think it's hard to understand how many individuals you have to change for the world to change, but that's how world change works. Different individuals buy in. Now, it don't have to be one at a time. I talk about multiplication and then this exponential growth. Like it don't have to be one at a time, door to door, right? But it could be on the internet. The internet does what door to door did at a larger scale. Amazon is just door to door sales on steroids, right? And so you have to believe that you can impact the world, and then you can. And so I want to go over it one more time. This is the philosophy of the Hope Institute. So if you're ever wondering, what does the Hope Institute do? Why? How did it come about? We are helping others pursue excellence, and this is how. By leaders thinking, by people changing, and by systems forming. And so if you learned something today, drop it in the comments. I hope that you liked it already. But if you waited me out, if I had to prove it to you that I was worthy of liking, I hope you hit the button now. And then share it with somebody. Share it with somebody who wants to change their world, who wants to change their family, who wants to change their company or their business, because this is how you do it, okay? I love you. It's a privilege and an honor always that you will give me any amount of time. I know how cluttered it can be on Beyonce's internet. Everybody got boots on the ground and waving fans. And you just hung out with Crew Excellence for a little bit, and I'm grateful. And so until next time, man, I'm going to holler at you. Peace.